There we go. All right, I'm going to seal this up. Hold on, because we can't have the grannies touching this shit. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
That's all right.
That's it. Now they can stay nice and warm. We did it last night. We had a choir here last night.
Okay.
And the ladies complained last week that it was too chilly in here, which, with all due respect, it is. And they were singing "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." And,
okay, that's right.
Yeah. I know, random. Mate, nothing is normal in my life.
Oh no, I gathered that.
So here we go. I'm going to just turn this around. There we go. Well, there you go. I think that's all right, isn't it?
Oh, that looks perfect.
Right, let me just turn the heating up a bit. There we go. That'll keep them nice and warm. I'm now happy. Let me put this screwdriver back because it ain't it is mine, actually. Let me put this over here. Fine. Okay. Now, they've got their heating on. The kettle is, boiling. My wife will be here in a minute. That's fine. So I can now leave this room, come back into the nice warm room.
Yeah.
There we go. And sit at my desk while I speak to you. Hold on.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you. Look, thank you for agreeing to do this for me. It's really kind.
Oh, pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Really kind of you. So, where did it all start for you? Has showbiz been a part of your life all since day one, or is it something that's come into it later?
Oh, day one. It's been day one from day dot. Basically, it was my mum's dream for me to play the piano because she wanted to, and her parents were like, "Nah, not happening." So she basically, her dream was to be a pianist. So she kind of, when I got to 3.5, she kind of went, right, sit down on the piano. So I sat on the piano. So from 3.5, I started playing the piano. By the time I was 15, I was a concert pianist. By the time I was 19, I kind of got a little bit fed up of being a concert pianist, and I wanted to go out and I wanted to have a different life. So I kind of went into the West End. So from the age of 21, I was in the West End doing different auditions, different shows. So I kind of started my career taking over from Brian Connolly in Me and My Girl. Okay. And then from there, it followed suit. So I kind of went from Me and My Girl, Fame, Boogie Nights, Happy Days, Grease, Buddy Holly, all the rock and roll musicals. So kind of did all that. And I did that for 10 years. So just went back and forth, national tours, and then started really getting excited about being in the entertainment industry. So from 3.5, really.
Yeah. And did comedy come naturally to you? Is it something?
Oh yeah, gotcha. Yeah. I've always been a joker. I've always been the class clown. I've always found humour in everything, really, and that has really played a big impact on my life because. There's pros and cons to seeing everything in a positive light. There is, genuinely. Some people get wound up by it. Other people find it hilarious. So my entire life I have spent, making people smile, making people laugh, and just enjoying the process.
Yeah. And was there anyone in the industry that you kind of looked up to growing up that you kind of inspired you?
Well, that's actually an interesting question because I predominantly grew up watching the likes of, Jim Davidson's, Bobby Davro's, Brian Connolly's, all their shows, all the generation games and the big breaks and the It's a Puppet and all that. And then all the comedian, what were they called? The comedians, watch them all the time. So I used to watch comedy all the time. Then I used to watch Only Fools and Horses, Steptoe and Son, Mind Your Language, Rising Damp and Porridge and all those kind of programs. So I was really from a very young age, I was into all that kind of stuff, but I was also into a lot of like action stuff, like, Knight Rider, the A-Team and all them and whatever. But the one program that I used to watch with my dad religiously was Columbo. the police drama, and I became obsessed with him, to be honest with you, to the point where, oh God, nearly just got me thing, where I just became so kind of. Oh, here we are. There you go. So I became really obsessed with the character. So I found him really funny. Yet I found him really intelligent, and I just wanted to be more like that character. I mean, Dudley Moore made me laugh a lot. Les Dawson made me laugh a lot, and you know, Bruce Forsyth and Des O'Connor's. All them they were all entertainers, but they all also had a different talent as well. So they went from being, I don't know, a comedian to then getting on the piano and playing, or being a comedian and then getting up and singing, and being a double act with, you know, Freddie Starr and this and that, which, by the way, oh my God, I admired so much when I was a kid. Yeah. These guys were hilarious. Cannon and Ball, you know, Eric and Ernie, you know, all these guys were brilliant. And I have had, genuinely, Dan, I've had the pleasure of working with most of the names I've just told you.
Yeah. I think there's something about those old school entertainers that just have the edge over maybe some of the modern day performers. I'm not saying that comedians nowadays aren't fantastic, because there's some amazing comedians, but I feel like people like Bruce Forsyth and Cannon and Ball, they just have that slight edge over some of the...
Well, they were entertainers. They weren't comedians. You see, the difference is, when you're a comedian, you're basically someone who gets on stage and makes people laugh.
Yeah.
When you're an entertainer, you're someone who gets on stage and not only makes people laugh, but actually takes them on a journey through different emotions. So for me, I've always been an entertainer. I've never been just a comedian.
And do you remember that first time you got on stage and did comedy? What was that like?
Yeah, I do. I was actually 16 years old, and we were doing a school production of a variety show, and the headmaster said, look, we've got a little bit of time to kill. Do you want to get up and do something? And I remember just thinking, I'll get up and do Freddie Starr. And I did 6 minutes of Freddie Starr, and it brought the house down. It made people laugh. I remember the joke as well. Ironically, I remember the joke, and the joke was, I put my hand in my shoulder like that, and I just went, what's that? And the audience went, don't know. And I said, it's a shy parrot. And I remember that stupid joke getting a lot of laughs. And I remember thinking, I really enjoyed getting that reaction. So, yeah, from a very early age, I think I got the bug to want to entertain.
Yeah. And so would you say, because I was presuming you started off doing the club circuit, would you say doing the club circuit allowed you to hone your craft before going on and maybe doing some of the more bigger things?
No, I didn't start in the club circuit at all. So I started in the West End in the musicals, playing comedic characters. And then, how old was I? 20, 27, 28, something like that. And a very good friend of mine, who ended up actually being my mentor, was a gentleman called John Conway. And he said to me, look, why don't you, he said, come and do Haven Holiday Parks and learn your graft, learn your comedy skills. So I went out and I did a year and a half touring different shows in the Haven Holiday Parks, did all that. And that was really good fun. And I learned a lot. And I left the Haven Holiday Parks, and John said to me, I've got an opening for you in Blackpool to work with the Nolan sisters, John Inman, Jimmy Cricket and Billy Pearce. Would you be interested? I said, would I be interested? I said, yes, absolutely. So I went up there. I did 18 weeks. I died on my backside most nights, trying to be funny. But I learnt my graft, and Billy Pearce took me under his wing. Jimmy took me under his wing. Quite a few different people took me under their wings. And I really began to kind of understand what it is to be an entertainer. And through mistakes, through experience, through learning, whatever, I got to a level where I was able to then support big stars like Joe Pasquale, Bobby Davro, Cannon and Ball, Billy Pearce, Brian Connolly, Jim Davidson. I was able to go on tour with them and actually be their support act. And I could do a comfortable 45 minutes with no problems. So depending on what they wanted, I could end up doing that. So, yeah, I think, the circuit, the stand-up comedy circuit opened up for me in 2000 and 6, 7, something like that, when I was knocking on their door, please, 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 let me in, let me in. I want to do stand-up comedy on the comedy circuit. And they were, no, you're too like kind of variety and mainstream. You're not alternative enough. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't understand. Funny's funny, you know. And the owner at the time of Jongleurs and the managing booking agent said, look, we're going to give you a chance in Camden Town. Come and show us your skills. So I went. I did 8 minutes on stage, and I got a standing ovation. And that was the fastest. I am the fastest entertainer, comedian, to go from an open spot to a headliner overnight.
I mean, what was it like getting to work with be a support act for some of these big names? I mean, did you make a point of watching them every night and kind of learning from them? Did you? Yeah,
totally. Yeah. I watched Brian Connolly, the way he works the audience. Jim Davidson, the way he kind of takes his time. Bradley Walsh gave me some great advice because Bradley actually gave me my first ever break. Bradley Walsh was doing the Masonic Gala, the Gala Variety Show. And I was at Linda Lasardi. I'm name dropping here, but I apologise. But Linda Lasardi, who happens to be the godparent to our children now, Linda and Sam. Linda Lasardi said, come to my house. Bradley's coming over. Gazza's coming over. A few friends are coming over. You know, I'd love you to meet them. So I went over, and Linda said to me, get on that piano and play the comedy stuff you were doing. And Bradley came in and listened to it, and he laughed that hard. He was crying, like literally physically crying of laughter. And he came up to me afterwards. He went, what are you doing on Saturday? I said, nothing. He said, you are now. He said, you're doing the Masonic Gala dinner. He said, I would like you to do 15 minutes. I said, all right. And I walked on stage, and I did 15 minutes to probably one of the best reactions I've ever had at that time. And it ended up me, from that show, Jim Davidson, Bradley Walsh, Brian Connolly, Joe Pasquale, Cannon and Ball were there. Who else was? I think that was it. And all 5 of them came and said, would you like to support us on tour? And then I spent the next 5 years jumping from comedian to comedian, basically going to mostly the same theatres, but just touring around the UK, doing my stand-up comedy and building my comedy routines.
And what would you say, out of all the theatres you performed in, what would you say is your favourite that you've done? Because it's amazing.
I don't have one. I don't have one. People ask that all the time, and I think theatres in general are a true blessing to this country. I think we have beautiful venues, beautiful theatres, and I've performed from 60-seater, like Comedy Museum in Holborn, where it's been like a 60-seater, where I've done the life of Dudley Moore, to I've never done the London Palladium actually, but I've done quite a few West End shows in different West End theatres. But recently I was at the Mayflower Theatre in Southampton, and I've got to tell you, by far, that's probably one of the best run, best disciplined, and best marketing theatres in the country.
So I actually came to see you in Panto back in December. I came to see Jack and the Beanstalk.
Did you?
I did. I came on the last night. I came on the second to last performance.
Oh, God. Oh, well, you came and saw a good show. Well, actually, all of them were good shows. But when I say a good show, I slightly digress. But I'd really done my leg in 4 days prior to that last show. So January the 2nd, I did a backflip with Ashley and Perry from Diversity. And as I did the backflip, my leg, something happened and my nerve got crushed a little bit, and I was limping the entire show. And then Ashley said to me, go home, get some ice on it, get this sorted, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I did what he told me, and literally a day later, I was able to walk again on it. But it was only on the last show, the last day, that I actually did all the backflips again. Before that, if you'd come on the 4th or the 3rd, you would have seen me jump on Ashley's back instead.
Okay. It was a really good show. I brought a couple of friends with me because they don't really go to see Panto that much, but because they're dancers, they love Diversity, and they said it was one of the best shows they've ever seen. I mean, they loved you. They said you were fantastic. But
it's great. Do you know what's great about it? I think pantomime's for everyone. It's not just for kids. I think. I mean, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
25.
Oh, you're a baby. So for you to go and support pantomime, in my humble opinion, I think that's one of the best things I think this country's about. It's about people like you who are 25, 30, 35, 20, or even 15 who go, yeah, let's go and watch a panto because it's about pure British tradition. And do you know what? Panto is not what it used to be. It's so much more of a spectacle now. It's a variety show. It's not just about the celebrities or the comedians. It's about watching something that's dazzling, that's it's eye fulfilling, and with the songs, with the sets, I mean, our set was insane, wasn't it?
Because didn't you have the old the London Palladium set from like a couple of years ago? Didn't you?
Yes. So what happens is the London Palladium set either goes to Birmingham or it comes to Southampton, but either or, it really they build that one there first and then it goes on tour. So you get like a set that's literally a year old and it's insanely beautiful, digitally enhanced, lighting, this, that. Wow.
I saw it in action at the Palladium, and it was one of the most thrilling productions I'd ever seen. So it was such a joy to see it in action again at one of my favourite theatres with a couple of friends who don't come to see Panto. I go and see Panto every year. I work front of house in the theatre and we have Panto there. So I'm used to doing the 5 weeks of trying to get through Panto. But it's such an honour to sit through the Palladium Panto every year in one of the most historic venues and watch Panto. And I kind of have to keep reminding myself how lucky I am because one day that may not be there.
No, true. I mean, I think theatres have been hit with so much negativity because of the pandemic and people not going out. And I mean, they really struggled, really struggled. And over the past, I think, 6 months to maybe 12 months, theatres really started coming back round again. Good shows have started coming back round again because they can afford to do it. Producers have started investing great income into good productions again. So the likes of 42nd Street and Hamilton and Carousel and this, that, whatever, all these great musicals, Jesus Christ Superstar, blah, 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 blah. They're all coming back in a big way. So it's really good.
What's it like standing on stage every night and seeing that Beanstalk grow from the orchestra pit and seeing the audience's reaction? Because I mean, that must be thrilling for anyone.
I sit there every night. I mean, I was literally, me and Perry were watching it every single night. And every single night we were like, that must be mind-bogglingly insane for someone sitting there. I'll tell you what the funniest thing was when Ashley Banjo, who no one expects, suddenly starts climbing the beam.
Yeah. And that was literally thrilling. I mean, because obviously you don't see where, obviously at the end of it, when the lights go down, you don't see where he goes. I'm not going to ask where he disappears off to, because I want to keep that.
Well, no, I'll tell you. So he climbs the beam.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh my God, there's Ashley Banjo, literally 6 inches away from me. He climbs the beam. And then, I don't know if you know this, but this is actually common knowledge. Ashley Banjo has a fear of heights.
Does he?
Oh. Massively. So, but he's not a quitter. He's just a champion. In my eyes, he's one of the best people I've ever worked with. And he climbs the beam. The lights go down when it's all done. And they literally, like we're talking, I think it's not more than 2 seconds, right? They literally let go of the wire, which holds out, and he goes, boom, straight down into the orchestra pit, and then he comes through. I'm not joking. Every single night or every performance, to do that is something else.
Yeah, I did wonder whether they did that. I was trying to work it out, and that did kind of go through my mind whether they did kind of bring him down that way. But I didn't want to work it out because I like the magic of it. But thank you for telling me. So in 2010, you did Britain's Got Talent. How did that come about for you? What made you want to go on and do it?
So I did another program. No, I didn't do a program. It was programs, but they didn't show it. It was the industry version of Britain's Got Talent, but it's the non-televised version, and it's called The Next Big Thing. And about 18,000 participants went for that particular show, and I went and I got narrowed down to the last 20, And then in Birmingham, we did the kind of the, not the dance off as such, but the entertainment off as such, and I won it. So I won the competition. I got the next big thing. It was great. And BGT approached me there and said, look, would you be interested in coming and doing Britain's Got Talent? I said, no, not really. And they bugged me again a week later, and I said, I'm not interested. And then a month later again. And my agent at the time said, look, I think publicity-wise, it would be a good idea. So I went, really? And they went, yeah. So I went, okay. So I basically said, I'll go for it. And I went and signed up, and I went through a different channel, which I can talk about now. I couldn't at the time because I was on an NDA. But Max Clifford, the agent who coincidentally died in prison for a lot of wrongdoings, was acting as a medium between me and Britain's Got Talent. And I went to Simon Cowell, and it was agreed that I would be in the running to win the show because they needed a variety act to win.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that that would be the case. They came, they filmed my home, my family, my this, my that, whatever, everything. And we then did the show. And I went through all the castings. I went through the first audition. I went through the second one, the third one, which was televised, which was the one in front of the judges. I went through to the semi-finals. And in the semi-finals, I got handed a contract that I didn't like. I didn't like the sound of it. And I gave it to my agent, who at the time was an agent that I'm now evidently not with anymore because of what happened. But he said to me, you can't really sign this. I said, why is that? He said, well, because it just means that, you know, Simon Cowell's company and everything will own you for 5 years and you can't do anything without their permission. And I just thought, I've worked really hard to put my act in front of so many wonderful people. I've worked hard. I've done 10 years in the West End. I've supported some of the biggest stars in England. The last thing I want to do is now give it to someone else to handle because I know what I'm doing. So I reluctantly said, no, I'm not going to sign it. And me and Simon Cowell had a bit of a standoff on that. And he got so upset with me, actually, because I told him to stick his contract somewhere where the sun doesn't shine. That when I walked on stage for the semi-finals, he buzzed me before I could even start my act, and he didn't want to see me. So Amanda was very kind. She let me stay till the end, but I did it, and I was really, really pleased that I did it, that I was taken off the show, because I was able to keep my act. I was able to tour around the world, having had the publicity and the exposure on television, and I was able to then get on ships, cruises, tours, you know, national tours, international tours. I then went and did my own world tour, and then I opened up an opportunity in Vegas where I was headlining at the Tropicana Hotel. In the first 2 years, I did all right. In the third year, I was selling out. So for the last 8 years, I've been selling out my shows there as well. So life's been good for me in that way. But I've always thought everything came down to one thing, and that was self-belief and the fact that you work hard at your act and you do what you can.
You took the auditions by storm, because you did your I'm Still Standing Elton John thing. I mean, that did go down really well with the audience. That must have been thrilling to kind of know the audience loved that kind of variety entertainment.
Well, the routine's funny.
Yeah.
Not sounding like I'm being big-headed here, but the routine's funny. But you've got to execute it. And up until that point, I'd probably done a good 6 years of that routine. No, maybe not 6, maybe 5 years of that routine. So I'd really honed in on it, and I'd really kind of refined it to know where the comedy bits are, where the bits you show the audience, where you look at the audience, where you play, where you stutter, where you jump. So the whole thing has been refined. And I think when you're a good entertainer and a good comedian, refining a good joke or a routine is essential if you want to get the ultimate joke and the ultimate reaction from the audience out of it.
How did that routine come about for you? What was it?
Freddie Starr.
Oh, yes.
Freddie Starr did a routine where he was slowing down and speeding up on a broken record. And I took that routine and I thought, well, we could upgrade it. I can play it on the piano. I can do a version of it rather than the way Freddie does it. So the concept of the idea came from Freddie Starr, and then the actual routine came about when I started putting it together and working a style out that I thought would be very funny. I've tried many things since, even like banging the piano and going into a different track of Elton John. So going, boom, it's a little bit funny. And then back, I'm still standing, that's, and all that. So I've tried different versions of it, but you do what you can to make people laugh.
What's it like performing in Vegas? I mean, it's the show business capital of the world, Vegas. It must be thrilling to get the opportunity to add your name to the list of people that have performed there.
Yeah, I'm truly blessed. Every time I go, I still literally, the only way I can describe it is I have a brain orgasm because I land in Vegas, I get into a taxi, and within 2 minutes of being in the taxi, my face is on the screens inside the taxi. Outside, there's billboards, digital billboards with my face on it. There are trucks going past with digital content on it with my face saying he's performing. I mean, I'm everywhere in Vegas, and it's like Kev Orkian, MGM, Caesar's Palace, boom, 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 everywhere, all these big screens. And I'm there everywhere. And it's like, wow. And then I go there, and there's a few friends, Paul Zerdin, Sam Wills, who's that boy with tape on his face who won America's Got Talent, and other people. And I look at them and I go, we're all British boys, having grown up in, in the UK, and we're in Vegas, and all of us are doing our shows out here. It's just like we all grew up in Edinburgh Fringe festivals and comedy clubs, dinky little comedy clubs in the UK, and now we're all in Vegas. It's great. It's so much. I mean, like Piff the Magic Dragon, boy with tape on his face, Paul Zerdin, myself, and then now we've actually got some other entertainers that are out there who are literally banging out these little comedy clubs in and around Vegas. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, because I've started getting into stand-up comedy myself, and I've done a couple of Fringe festivals in the last few years. I'm doing Camden.
Have you really? Well done.
I'm doing Camden Fringe Festival this year, and it is quite thrilling because I never. If you told me 10 years ago I'd be doing comedy, I would have. It's not something. I was quite a shy person growing up, but it is thrilling to stand on that stage and even just in a club or a pub that I've done it so far, and just make people laugh. It is quite a joyful thing, and it's something
absolutely. It's a drug. Yeah. For me, it's a drug. Getting on stage. I mean, I do 3 or 4 shows a week now in different places, and it is such a drug to get on stage, do what you do, and just make people smile. Bradley Moore said to me once, "Never be afraid of silence." He said, because if you've got a strong punchline, people will listen. And then if you sock it to them with a good punchline, he said, you'll always have them on your side. So never ever be afraid of silence. And that was a great bit of advice I got from Brad.
What's your advice for anyone that wants to get into this industry and do comedy like myself?
You got to want to do it first. You've got to love. You've got to want to. You've got to love it. It's not about proving that you can get on stage. If you want to do that, go and be a guest speaker somewhere, or go and host a charity award. It's not about that at all. I think if you want to do stand-up comedy and you want to make people smile, make people laugh, I think it's crucially down to the fact that you first of all got to have a reason for getting on that stage with good material that you want to make people laugh with. Be honest, be real. Don't try and be, someone that you're not. And what I mean by that, and I've got to be very careful how I put this forward, because I walk on stage and I play an immigrant Armenian who doesn't speak very good English. He comes from Armenia, and he's trying to do something in this country, and he's trying to play the piano. And I want to tell you about my life. I come from Armenia. I come underneath an Eddie Soba track because it's nice and comfortable holding on, and all that kind of stuff. So you do all those kind of gags. But for me, my heritage is Armenian. My parents are illegal immigrants who came to the UK in the 60s and 70s. the storyline, everything I talk about is predominantly my parents. So I have that truth behind the character, which is why the character is so loved and so funny. But then if you walk on stage and you're a 25-year-old man and you start talking about, I don't know, being married for 20 years and going through a divorce, and your wife never gave you sex, and this is why you left her, because she was seeing someone else, and it turns out it was your best mate, and blah blah blah, and now you're like, oh, well done, mate. Now you've got the poor end of a relationship that I had, so unlucky you. It's not funny.
No.
You've got to find material that's funny to who you are and what you do. So the fact that you just said to me, you're shy, I think that's a brilliant way of opening up a comedy routine. Turning around and going, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'm shy.
Yeah.
And just pausing and just listening to the audience and just saying, you know, I don't know what else to say now. And making people feel uncomfortable in the audience, and then coming in with something funny straight after that would absolutely bring the house down. I think you've got to be real to you.
I'm going to note that down, actually, because like I said, I'm doing Camden Fringe Festival. I'm trying to try out new material, so I'm going to note that down and try and give that a go.
Do it. I think everything is a trial and test. I think everything is about really picking up ideas that are real to you. I mean, most of the comedians we book through Jongleurs are just sensational comedians. You know, whether they're male, female, whether they're tall, short, fat, thin, what makes no difference to me at all. I think a good comedian is someone who comes out and engages the audience within a matter of a second and says something that really brings the house down. And you know what? At the end of the day, people want to go out and they want to be entertained. That's as simple as it gets. The other day I was doing a show, and I've never done this joke before, and it only came to me like literally there and then. But I'm playing the piano, doing a bit of a comedy routine, and this old lady gets up, and with one of those shopping baskets with the wheels, she walks past in front of the stage and buggers off behind me through the corridor, right? And all I said to the audience was, halfway through the piano, I haven't stopped playing, I just looked at the audience and I went, did anyone else see that ghost? And that's all I said, right? It brought the house down. I didn't need to say anything else after that. Literally everything was funny after that. So that's what you got to do. You got to find it. You got to train yourself in certain ways. I think some people are funnier than others in the sense of they have just that funny bone, and they're naturally gifted. They're naturally funny, and they enjoy that camaraderie. There's so many great comics I can name right now that I would guarantee would walk on stage and within 2 minutes you're smiling or you're laughing. And there are so many good ones like that. And then there's so many that are still coming up the ranks. And I think whether you're funny or not, everyone has to have a chance to prove themselves in this game. And it's your journey, it's no one else's.
When you get the opportunity to work with these new and upcoming comedians, is it a thrill to see people still kind of passing on the baton and giving it to the next person and giving it a go? Because, you know, it could be an industry that one day dies away, but it must be nice to see people still want to do it.
No, it's not an industry that will ever die. Comedy's been around for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So it's not two things that have been around for 2,000 years, prostitution and comedy clubs. So I think both of them will never end. I think people need humor in their life to get through life, really. I think life gives you enough negativity. So I think if you can find some harmony and some comedy, I think comedians are a blessing on this planet. They truly are, because they find the funny in something that other people find disastrous. I mean, you know, COVID was a nightmare for everyone, but now everyone's talking about it in a comedic way. You know, the fires in LA that have just happened. Two of my friends in LA are doing stand-up comedy. One of them turned around the other day and he said, you know what? It's such a blessing having the fire. My whole house burnt down. He said, now my mum will never, ever get to find those porn magazines that I had under my bed. And this kind of stuff, you know, everyone, and then people are talking about the fact that all the evidence from P. Diddy's house has now disappeared, so he might be let off. You know, everyone's finding humor in shit that's gone wrong. And I think that's the greatness about our industry. It's comedians are a relief to people, and they're a voice to what people want to say but don't. Yeah. So I think it's wonderful. Yeah, don't get me wrong. You know, the likes of Jimmy Carr's and Ricky Gervais's, great performers, Mickey Flanagan's, you know, Michael McIntyre's. All these are great stars, but they're no different to people you don't know in the comedy clubs. There are so many great comedians in the comedy clubs that deserve to have a voice on television, but don't get the chance. But at the end of the day, these are guys that are still bringing much camaraderie, much relief, and much humour to the masses through their material and their comedy.
Thing is, there's so much negativity going on in this world at the moment. It's really nice just to be able to listen to what people make just laugh. I think that is such a thrilling thing to be able to do. And some people knock what we do as entertain performers. Like people say, well, it's not a proper job and things like that. But actually, everyone has access to entertainment. Everyone puts on the TV, listens to a podcast.
Yeah,
it's such an amazing. I look at these people and I think, what a skill you have to be able to entertain people. Because I don't think not everyone realizes how important that is.
No, you're right. I think it's well-being, and I think when you look at the world that we live in today, and you look at the incredible adversity that we have to go through, we're in a thick mud at the moment, and maybe even quicksand actually, and we're not moving fast enough, and people are drowning. Obviously, you know, our country suffers greatly at the moment with taxes, with this, with that, and whatever. So we live in a very negative surrounding. So when you then, you know, spend a tenner or 15 quid going to a comedy club just to get emotionally forget everything that's happened in your life and just enjoy an hour's worth of humor, that will put more years on your life than anything else. I think when people find humor and they laugh, I mean, let me give you an example. I think I'm struggling to kind of give you an example of what I mean, but this is a perfect example. I was doing a musical, and a woman and her two daughters came up to me afterwards and at the stage door and said, "We have never laughed that hard." I said, "Oh, bless you." She said, No, you don't understand. We haven't laughed like that in 3 years. And I said, "Why is that?" And she said, "Oh, just circumstances, life. So we just wanted to come round and just thank you for really making us laugh out loud." She gave me a cuddle. The two daughters gave me a cuddle and just said, "Thank you very much." And they left. I went home, thought nothing else of it. And 2 days later, I get a letter at the stage door from this woman saying, "Hi, Kev, my name's blah, blah, blah. I met you at the stage door and I told you how much you made me laugh and whatever." She said, "But I think it's only right that you know what effect you had on me." She said, "I have got terminal 4 cancer. I know that I haven't got much time left. And my daughters wanted to take me out of that bubble of negativity. And we came and watched the musical, and you just made us laugh more than anything in the world." And she said, "For the 2 hours that I watched you," she said, "I'd forgotten I had cancer." So I was like, wow. And she said, "And I just wanted to thank you." So I wrote back to her, and I sent her the letter and just said, "Thank you so much. I didn't realize what an impact I'd made on you. And I hope, you know, things turn out okay. And I wish you all the love and, you know, energy in the world." About 2 or 3 weeks later, one of the daughters came to the stage door and she said, "Hi, Kev." She said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "No." She said, I'm the daughter of the lady that wrote to you." And I went, "Oh God, yeah, sorry, yeah, blah, blah, blah." And she said, "Just to let you know, on her deathbed, she said to me, could you please thank Kev one more time for being the only person to have made me forget I had cancer in 3 years." So there you go. So what we do, we don't know what we do and what effect it has on people. But when you look at life in such a negative way, life becomes very difficult. So I think all comedians on this planet, like I said, are a blessing. And that's why I love everyone that makes people laugh and smile. I'm blessed to own Jongleurs and to be able to book comedians into these wonderful comedy clubs that we open up around the country and bring so much camaraderie to the world.
I think when you've got like 2,000 people sat, or even just a few hundred people, everyone's going through their own individual life, and they've all got things going on. And when you see them all laughing, you kind of sometimes it's easy, must be easy to take it for granted, but you don't, like you said, you don't know what that means to someone. That even just that 2 minutes of laughter could be such a life-changing thing for them, because you don't know what's going on in their life. And that's why I think it's really important that show business keeps on thriving, because it's more important than what people think it is. And even just for entertainers, even just getting on stage entertaining, you don't know what that means to them. They may be going through a lot in their life as well, and getting on stage and performing could be that lifeline for them, or that bit of escapism.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, I was going through a lot myself, and one time I went on stage at Brighton Fringe Festival, even just for 20-30 minutes it was pure escapism for me, and it kind of made me forget what I was going through with mental health and things like that. So it is such a joyful thing, the world of show business.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place.
Is there one final question? Is there anything in your career that you haven't done so far that you would like to do?
Yes. Two things, actually. One, I've written a musical, and I'd like to have it shown at some point. It's called Why Us? And it's about the Armenian genocide of 1915. But it's a very rock musical, which I basically put together, and I am liaising with a couple of people on. And the second one is to have my piano album in the classical charts.
Okay. And are both those things in the pipeline? I mean, is that something? Yeah. Good. And so what, in terms of show business and entertainment, what does this year look like for you? I mean, is it a jam-packed year for you?
Yeah. So obviously Hertfordshire Studios here in our offices and the big auditorium that we put on a lot of events. That's building now. I've got very big projects this year that I'm doing. I've got another 3 films. I've just done 2 already. No, I've done 1 already. I've got the second one end of February, and then the next 2 I'm doing in May and in September. So I'm doing those. I'm touring a very big show this year. I'm playing The Wizard in the Cirque Wizard pantomime this year for John, which is the guy I was telling you about. So I'm doing that. That's arena tours, 9 arenas in 3 weeks. I'm touring the globe with my one-man show, Enough is Enough. So I'm doing 50 cities around the world with my one-man shows. And whilst all that is going on, I'm directing 3 pantomimes this year. 1 for P&O, which is because we put all the pantos on P&O, so we're putting that. We've got the national tour in the UK, and we've got our Easter panto here in the studios as well. So lots and lots going on.
Good. Once again, Kev, thank you so much for doing this for me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I will try and get to come and see you in something this year, because I always love watching you in anything that you do.
God bless you, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bless you, Dom. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.